I've gone ahead and fleshed out the simple composition I created with a bunch of instrumental parts. Let me play you what I've done, and then I'll talk a bit about why I chose the parts I did. You'll notice that there are a few gaps in the track because we're going to add the transition afterwards, as well as the tag melody and some additional scoring elements. I'll play it one more time with the voiceover in.
Oh, what a busy day! It's almost dinner time and it's too late to make dessert.
Wait, it's not too late to make dessert. Because now, Jell-O brings you new Jell-O instant pudding that needs no cooking. Just add to milk and beat. In minutes, this terrific new busy day dessert is ready to eat. And so quick, you can make it just before dessert time, or let the children make it themselves. It's that easy. New Jell-O instant puddings. The new busy day dessert.
So, if you remember the rough roads part I put down during the composition process, which sounded like this. Well, I decided to play that on a mellotron flute sound, since I figured that would give the track a bit of playfulness and retro character. But since that's the main motif of the track, I wanted it to stand out a bit more. So I added a vibraphone part to double what the mellotron is playing. The vibe patch is something I took from a sample CD that already has a built-in retro character to it. I'll often layer my sounds to create a unique composite sound, depending on what I'm trying to achieve. In this case, the vibe patch adds a percussive quality to the softer, more sustained mellotron flute sound. Here's what they sound like together. You'll notice that a lot of the sounds in this track, I'm bussing to kind of a long plate type reverb. Usually I stay away from using lots of reverb in my tracks, but I wanted this track to have a live, kind of old school feel. So I'm trying to make all the instruments sound like they're playing together in a big space. Continuing on with that idea of creating hooks and rhythmic motifs, I created a counter rhythm with my bass part to play against the mellotron and vibes. I treated the bass sound here pretty heavily, and even added a touch of short delay and reverb to it. I wouldn't ordinarily do that, but I just found it blended in better with this track. Here's the bass part, which I played in live on my Fender Jazz Bass. I'll play the bass now with the mellotron and vibes to show you how they work together. You'll hear that they're not rigidly tight or quantized, but I intentionally wanted to keep the parts loose to give it that live and quirky feel. Also, pay attention to how I drop out the mellotron and vibe part for 4 bars during the information section. I wanted to keep the instrumentation live and organic for the most part, so I added a guitar part that is, yet again, playing another hook. Here's what it sounds like. I'm going to mute all the effects and plugins on the guitar because I want to show you how flat and dry it sounded when it was recorded. I recorded that with my Strat. So in addition to some EQ and compression, I used Logic's Amp Designer plugin and even added some additional spring reverb to the guitar sound, on top of the plate I'm bussing it to. Here's what it sounds like with the plugins. You'll notice that I've copied the same guitar part onto another track because I wanted to add some crunchiness and noise to deteriorate the sound a little. I got the sound of the first guitar part first and decided that I liked it, but wanted to blend in a duplicate of it that had some graininess to it. To go for the lo-fi quality, I used Logic's Bit Crusher plugin here and decreased the resolution to 7-bit, which added some noise, and gave it 2.5 dB of drive to saturate it a little. Here's what that sounds like on its own. And here's what they sound like together. Definitely has some noise and crunch to it. I'm not that concerned with whether the individual parts sound pristine. What I am concerned with is how the tracks all come together to create the final result. Arrangement-wise, I bring in the guitars at bar 11, where the information section begins. I drop out the main riff here played by the flute and vibes, so that the listener's attention is drawn to the VO. Now, for my drums, I've created a shuffle rhythm, which has a playful swing to it. I'll often layer my drums using a combination of live loops along with individual sample hits, and then, if appropriate, I'll play in some live percussion on top to keep it all from feeling stiff. In this case, I've added some tambourine. Now, let's hear this with all the parts playing. Pay attention to the bridge at bar 15, and check out how I drop a couple of the drum layers to create a little breathing space, to give contrast with the rest of the track. Well, we're not done just yet. We still have a few more elements to add to make this really work with the picture. We'll do that next.